Hello, friends. This is Executive Senior Million Dollar Sales Director Lindsay Creamer, and I am so honored and so excited to be coming to you as a part of the 29 Days of Love Challenge. Thank you, Kim McClure, for being a genius and spearheading this for our sales force. You are a godsend, my friend. Okay, so what I want to share with you about on one of my 29 Days of Love are pink possibility chats, or what we affectionately call in our national area PPCs. Okay, pink possibility chats. So basically, what a pink possibility chat is it is just a new spin on the old school like practice interview, shall we? So it's just basically a way to share the opportunity in a really low key, no pressure, relaxed, and easy way. Okay. And so the thought process with these calls, and you can even do them via Messenger. They don't have to be three-way phone calls. If you prefer, you could, have a group chat with you and your sales director and a prospective team member. So there's lots of ways that you can do these, but the majority of mine happen on a three-way phone call between me, one of my consultants in my unit, and a prospective team member. But I'm also going to share with you how you can do these on your own too. Like if you're not a director doing these with some of your consultants, or if you're a consultant and you want to do your own PPCs, right? So like we've got options here. Okay. We're going to talk all through that. And so basically, as we're approaching the conversation by just encouraging our customers to ask us questions about the Mary Kay opportunity. So we position it as hypothetically, if you were going to ever consider doing Mary Kay, what kind of questions would you have, or what would you want to know more about? Okay. So the reason why I love these is because I feel like in my former years of doing practice interviews or sharing appointments, I feel like oftentimes I was doing all of the talking. And remember, Mary Kay said we have two ears and one mouth for a reason. You should listen twice as much as you talk. Well, so I often found myself like word vomiting Mary Kay all over people and sharing my eye story and all of these things that honestly, sometimes people don't necessarily care about. And really, the goal is I want to address their questions. I want to make Mary Kay relevant to them in their life. It's not about me. It's about them. Right. And so I'm just loving these conversations. And so what I will say is this: if you are a consultant and you're not comfortable doing these, I'm willing to bet your sales director would be willing to partner with you to have some of these conversations. And so what I want to do is first, I'm going to tell you, what does it sound like to ask somebody, a customer, a friend, an acquaintance, if they would be willing to do a pink possibility chat with you. And then what do we do during a pink possibility chat? Okay. So what the question would sound like is something like this, hey, Susie Q, I'm working on some leadership training in my Mary Kay business, and my director challenged me to think of people that I thought might be willing to let me borrow 15 minutes of their time to help me out. And I immediately thought of you. Do you have 15 minutes free in the next few days that I could borrow your ear? And I oftentimes will encourage my consultants to maybe offer them a gift. You don't have to tell them what, but say, I'll have something special for you if so. And that could be a $10 gift certificate on their next order. It could be a half price item. It could be, if you have a lot of hydrating sheet masks laying around your office, it can be whatever. Don't overthink the gift part, but just something to incentivize them. But you're tying them into a goal. I'm working on some leadership development training. You could also share with them your goal. Hey, I'm working on earning a career car from Mary Kay, or I'm working on promoting myself to the top 1% of Mary Kay, and I'm working on my leadership development training in order to do that. Okay. But so you just tell them, I need 15 minutes of your time. Do you have 15 minutes to help me out in the next few days? And I'll have a gift for you if so. So when they say yes, you're going to say, awesome. Thank you so much. It's going to be super informal and relaxed. If you could just think of 5 questions to ask about the Mary Kay business opportunity, I'm learning how to answer the most commonly asked questions, and yours will help a ton. When do you have 15 minutes in the next couple of days? Or when do you have 15 minutes today or tomorrow? Okay. So you tell them literally, it's going to be super informal and relaxed if you could just think of 5 questions. So you're prefacing them and telling them on the front end to come to the call or to come to the conversation with questions. Okay. And so what I'll share is that if you're a director listening and you're probably sitting here thinking like, well, I'm not going to call up my director and be doing these on 3-way for my leadership development training. So what you could say instead, if you are a sales director listening to this, or you're a consultant and you're wanting to do these on your own and you're not going to be doing them with your director, is you could say something like this. Hey, I'm working on some market research about the most frequently asked questions about a Mary Kay business, or I'm gathering some data about the most commonly asked questions about a Mary Kay business so I can train my consultants on the most frequently asked questions. Would you be willing to give me a few minutes of your time to help me out? I'll have something special for you if so. So you can also position it in that way, okay? If you're like, well, I'm not really working on leadership development training, right? But I mean, you could always say that too. You could say, right now, me, Lindsay Cramer, I am challenging you to work on your leadership development training. So you can tell people, I'm in a contest, I'm in a challenge to work on my leadership development training, okay? Or I love saying, to my clients, I'm working on some market research and I'm gathering some data about the most commonly asked questions. This will really help me train my team on how to answer the most commonly asked questions. You with me? So basically you're posing it as just a conversation where they're going to be asking questions about the Mary Kay business opportunity. Okay. So when it's time for the phone call, it would sound something like this. Like, let's say if I'm on the phone doing this with a consultant and one of her prospects, this is what this would sound like. And if it's not for a prospect, you just cut out that portion of it. So for example, let's say I'm doing a call with Tammy to join April's team. It would sound something like, hey, Tammy, thank you so much for giving us some of your time today and being willing to help Amber with her leadership development training. We so appreciate you. It's going to be super informal and relaxed. And so what I would love to do is I'm just going to ask you some questions to get to know you a little bit better. And then we will answer any questions you have for us about the Mary Kay business opportunity, whether they're hypothetical or real life, okay? And we'll see if this sounds like something you'd be interested in at the end. So I do tell them on the front end, we're going to ask them if they'd be interested. So that's it. So the questions that I ask them, tell me a little bit about you and your life and what you have going on right now. And then I listen, okay? So as I'm listening, say, for example, we talked to a woman recently. She had 4 teenage daughters. Immediately I'm thinking, oh my goodness. So her and her 4 teenage daughters, imagine the money she could save just with the discount, right? So I'm processing. If they tell me they have a job, I say, what do you do? Do you love it? So just listening to what they share with me about their life. The next question I ask is, tell me about your experience with Mary Kay. Have you tried it recently? What's your experience like? I want to know, have they tried the products in the last 10 years? Have they did they go to a Mary Kay party 25 years ago and that's all they know, right? Have they tried the products? Do they like the products? If so, who doesn't like Mary Kay products? I've never had that be a reason why somebody doesn't join because they don't like the products. Literally never. That's usually one of the biggest reasons why they do, because they love the product, right? But so what's their experience? Have they tried it recently? Do they know that you can work Mary Kay virtually? So many people know that, old school Mary Kay sitting around a kitchen table and that's all they know. So do they know that there's other options now, right? So those are the only questions I ask them. Tell me about you and your life and what you have going on right now and what's your experience with Mary Kay. That gives me a really good gauge about them. And so then I'm like, okay, great. So tell me this, hypothetically, if you were going to ever consider starting a Mary Kay business, what would you want to know? What questions do you have? What would you want to know more about? So they ask me their question and I answer it. And then I'm like, okay, great. That was a great question. What other questions would you have? And so then they ask me another question and I'm like, answer that. Okay, awesome. What other questions would you have? And so keeping the conversation flowing. Now, if they don't ask this question, I always make sure to ask them, if they're done asking questions, but they haven't asked this yet, I always make sure to say, well, do you know what it takes to get started if you did want to become a consultant? And of course, then I tell them about the eStart option and the options that they have to start their business, right? And so that's how it goes. So, they ask their questions. And then at the end, I say, okay, so based on all that you learned today, is there any reason why we couldn't get you started? Or is there any reason why you wouldn't want to give it a try and just see what happens? For $35, what do you have to lose, right? I have literally done some of these conversations where they will ask 2 questions and be like, okay, those are all the questions I had. I'm ready to sign up. And I'm like, seriously? It's like a 5-minute call. I didn't have to do a dissertation, nothing. So they just ask their questions. And then at the end, I'm like, okay, so based on what you know, is this something you could see yourself doing? Is there any reason why we couldn't get you started today? Right? And then if they're like, I'm not sure, like if they're like, I need to think about it or I need to ask my husband, I'll say, okay, do we have permission to follow up with you in a day or two? Just to have that next step of when we're going to connect with them again to follow up with them. Okay. Now, let's say for any reason, if somebody gets on the call and they're like, I don't have any questions or I don't know what to ask. Like if I need to guide the conversation at all with, which doesn't happen often. Usually people are actually come with really great questions. And y'all, what I have found is because they're doing it for market research or to help their consultant with their leadership development training, they come to the table with really good questions, like really great questions. I'm like, dang, that was good. And so what's so awesome is when I'm doing these with my consultants, they get to hear this vast array of questions where they're like, wow. And so they're learning and being equipped on how to answer the most commonly asked questions and how to overcome objections, right? And so it's awesome. It's beautiful. But if they don't ask questions or they don't have questions, one of my favorite things to ask them is, okay, so if I were to ask you right now, Tammy, would you like to become a Mary Kay beauty consultant? What are the things that come to your mind where you think, oh, well, wait, I can't decide until I know, right? So fill in the blank. What would that be? What would you need to know, right? In order to say yes, what do you feel like you would need to know? Or some other questions that you could ask are, do you know how we make our money in Mary Kay? Or do you wonder if we have specific territories that we're allowed to work our businesses in? Or have you ever thought about, do we have quotas? And of course, the $1 million question that you always want to make sure to ask them is, do you know what it takes to get started? Right. And so, y'all, I challenge you, like, these are so low key. Like, don't feel like you have to go in. You don't really have to know a lot of anything because you're just basically asking people, hey, could I borrow a few minutes of your time? And so if you're a consultant doing these with your director, I need help with some leadership development training. I was thinking of the sharpest women I know, pay them a genuine compliment. Why did you think of them? If there's someone you want to work with, ask them, right? So I thought of you. I immediately thought of you. Is there any reason why you couldn't give me 15 minutes of your time? I'll have something special for you as a gift. Or for directors, hey, I'm working on some market research to help train my team. I would love to get your input. Would you be willing to help me out, right? So you just ask them that question and then you book the call and you're really just asking them, tell me a little bit about you. What do you know about Mary Kay? If they're your customer, you already know their experience with Mary Kay, but then, okay, hypothetically, if you were going to consider doing this, what kind of questions would you have? And it's just so simple. It's so, so simple. And so I hope this blesses you. I hope it frees you. I'll tell you this, y'all, with my team, our average is that 1 in 3 will join. 1 in 3 have joined with these PPCs. So it's awesome. And of course, that means that we're then expecting 2 out of 3 to say no. And that's okay, right? This business is mathematical. It's not magical. Don't beat yourself up when people say no. No means next opportunity, right? And you can just, y'all, I have so many people who have told me no several times who end up coming back and saying yes later. So when they say no, you just keep taking really, really, really great care of them as their beauty consultant so that when and if they ever do decide to say yes, they know what it looks like to be a great beauty consultant because you have modeled it for them, my friends. So I pray that this blesses you. And my challenge during these 29 days of love is knowing that if 1 in 3 on average say yes, my challenge is to you is to do at least 3 of these. Just give it a try. See what happens. And I just pray that God blesses your efforts. And y'all, Mary Kay Ash simply asked us to pass it on. And so let's go honor our founder. And during the month of love, let's spread the Mary Kay love, my friends. We have lives to change. I cannot wait to hear your success stories and just so proud of you for taking time to plug into this message. God bless you. Let's go kick some butt and change some lives, my friends. We got this. Love y'all.